Mercedes' struggles are set to continue in round 8 of the season on the city streets of Baku. Everyone thought that after their impressive showing in Barcelona, the Mercedes were back on track for the rest of the season. But Monaco dashed everyone's hopes, and in Azerbaijan, the Silver Arrows are going to struggle again. But how tough will the streets of Baku be on Mercedes? Mercedes finishing 5th and 8th in Monaco was not as good as fans or the team were hoping for. Before the race weekend began, team principal Toto Wolff said they were concerned the W13's low-speed cornering performance would prove a weakness around Monte Carlo. But that didn't stop us hoping they would continue the good pace shown in Barcelona, did it? The problem Mercedes have is that the W13 really struggles in the low-speed sections. We have poor rear downforce, Lewis Hamilton explained. Loads of front, but nothing on the rear. Today it felt better, but we seem to be slower, he added. I don't know really why. It felt like we improved the car in terms of bouncing, but it feels slower. We weren't very good in the low speed in the last race anyway, he added. In the race it was okay, but not on a single lap, so we anticipated it would be difficult here. I think it's worse than we anticipated because of the bumps. It's super bouncy for us everywhere. Slow, medium, and high, so challenging. We'll speak about the bouncing Hamilton talks about shortly, but let's look at the Mercedes lap time problem. The issue with the Monaco Grand Prix is that if you can't put in a fast time in qualifying, then you get stuck for the whole race. This is what happened to Hamilton, who qualified in 8th and then got stuck behind a very wide Alpine in the form of Fernando Alonso for the whole race. The Baku track is similar to Monaco in some ways, but not in others. It has those slow speed sections that the Mercedes struggles with due to their lack of rear downforce. What Baku does have though is a very high speed straight towards turn 1 that Mercedes may be able to abuse. This long straight, with the aid of DRS, creates an overtaking zone that many of the cars can make use of. In Monaco last year, there were a total of 0 on-track overtakes after the first lap. Despite Baku being a low-speed street circuit like Monaco, there were 27 overtakes. So even if Mercedes struggle with their qualifying speed again, there is a hope that they can gain back some places during the race. In Monaco, Hamilton was incredibly vocal about how much the W13 was bouncing. It was an issue many people thought the team was done with thanks to the upgrades they brought to Barcelona. Unfortunately for the team, they've now encountered a new type of bouncing. Toto Wolff says that the new problem is that the car is bottoming out. We haven't had porpoising returning, we have bottoming out. We're just hitting the ground in a very different way. The car is too stiff, too low, and it's just the same gap like it was in qualifying in Barcelona. Mercedes Director of Trackside Engineering Andrew Chauvelin added some more detail to why the bouncing was such an issue. Certainly, it was a lot harder to get the car to work around Monaco than it was in Barcelona. In Barcelona, we'd shown that we had good race pace, even though we know there's still work to do to close the gap to Red Bull and to Ferrari. But the challenge of Monaco is the low-speed nature. It's a very bumpy circuit, and we were struggling with the ride of the car. That was affecting the confidence of the drivers to carry speed, and it just meant that we couldn't run it as close to the optimum as we had been able to do in Spain. So why is the team struggling with a new type of bouncing? Well, it is unfortunately due to their fix for porpoising. Don't worry, I'm sure the irony of the situation isn't lost on them. Luckily though, it should only be limited to Monaco and Baku. To help with their porpoising problem, Mercedes reduced the maximum travel of their suspension. What this did is reduce how low the floor could sink compared to the wheels. This means that the car isn't able to get sucked so close to the ground as it was before. The porpoising was occurring because the car was getting sucked down towards the track surface by the downforce created. The airflow was getting restricted and stalling, then the quick reduction in downforce being created was causing the car to pop up on its suspension. Well, by shortening the suspension travel, it literally can't get close enough to the floor for that to happen anymore. A side effect of shortening the suspension's travel, though, is that the car absorbs the bumps in the track much worse. If you were to go and drive around the streets of Monaco on a normal day in a normal car, they would probably feel smooth as butter and you'd have a really nice day out. You won't notice all the potholes in the road or the parts where they'd had to rip up the road surface to do repairs on infrastructure under the road. But your car's suspension travels much further. It's designed to absorb the bumps in the road and make your car comfortable to drive. An F1 car's suspension is designed to move as little as possible to make the car more stable and faster to drive. So when the Mercedes drivers were going at over 200 km an hour through the streets in Monaco, they were feeling every single little bump in the road. Hamilton is also hoping for a better showing around Baku. saying after Monaco that he was tired of all the bouncing, shaking his head. "I'm praying the car doesn't feel like it does here. My teeth and my jaw going the whole time. I'm done with the shaking. Ours is so stiff that the suspension is driving it back into the ground. I'm looking forward to some more open track and I'm praying that it's not as bumpy as here," he said. This was the worst in this car so far because of the potholes. I don't know if it's the porpoising. I hope it's not what we had in the last race, so I want it to not be a problem. But if there are potholes, then in the corners we can have them. At the start of Friday's practice, Lewis Hamilton actually had to have his suspension changed, the bouncing was so bad. Overnight, they raised the ride of both Mercedes to try and reduce the bouncing. The fix worked, but it meant they sacrificed downforce and performance. It must be frustrating for the team because they thought in Spain that the bouncing was fixed, and they could finally lower their ride height to what they thought was the optimum height. While Hamilton may be hoping for a comfier ride in Baku, he is probably going to be very disappointed. The streets of Baku are no better than those of the city-state of Monaco. If Mercedes try to run the same setup as they did at Monaco, they're likely to find the same problems. Running low to the ground in Baku will mean more bottoming out for the W13 and more complaints from their superstar Lewis Hamilton. George Russell admitted that the best he personally can hope for is to continue his run of top 5 results. "It definitely will be more suited, but I don't think it's going to transform our finishing position," he conceded. At the moment, around Monaco, we were 6 tenths behind, and into Baku we'll probably be 3 tenths behind the front runners, we hope, for the best case. However, Russell knows that his team is working hard at the factory to develop the car. "I think we just need a bit more downforce. When we look at Barcelona, we were the quickest in the high-speed turns," the driver analyzes Mercedes' situation. The team is still trying to get their car to the optimum position that Toto Wolff has been talking about all season. The belief is that once they can run it at a ride height they want, without the car bottoming out or porpoising, they'll be faster than any other car on the grid. However, Russell knows that more teams are trying to get closer to the top teams. In fact, Mercedes might be at risk of getting caught by the midfield soon. In the Constructors' Championship, they have a huge gap to McLaren in 4th place, and that won't change while Daniel Ricciardo continues to fail to score points. But in the Drivers' Championship, there are drivers behind them who can pose a threat. Hamilton especially is at risk of slipping further down the championship table. He's 6th at the moment, just 2 points ahead of Lando Norris, who qualified 5th in Monaco and will be aiming to repeat that in Baku. According to Russell, his team cannot just accept that. "We need to find a bit more pace in qualifying. We can't afford to keep having an Alpine or McLaren jump us." Whether Mercedes are able to find the speed they need or not remains to be seen. It will all depend on what changes they make to the car before the race in Azerbaijan. It seems that every time Mercedes fix one problem this season, they find or create another. Whatever fix they put in for Baku may not help them in round 9 in Canada. Whatever their plans may be, if you're a Mercedes fan, keep your fingers crossed that Wolff & Co can find the answers to their troubles soon. Want to know about the budget cap problems Mercedes are also coping with? Then click the video showing on your screen and I'll see you there.